we're rolling, so whenever you guys are ready to go.
Oh, we started?
Go. That's right.
Oh my gosh, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, we're done. We're ready.
We're ready.
We're done? We're ready?
Avi Goldstein, you quit your job to do music.
Yeah.
And you were scared that that would be the first question.
No, I kind of knew it would be the first
You
question.
knew it would be the first question.
Yeah.
Why did you do it, and why did you do it now?
Why did I do it and why did I do it now? Okay. Well, I guess I'll give some context. So, back up even further. Grew up, loved music, loved art, was doing that like alongside school for pretty much my whole life. Liked it a lot, but like the general consensus amongst the family was like, do it for fun, don't do it for career, be smart. So I go to school, I go to college, I study computer science because I was kind of like nudged in that direction, and I was like, oh, that seems cool. So I did it. And fortunately, I was smart enough to figure it out, like take the classes, do well enough to get some internships, and do well enough to then, thankfully get a job.
I almost feel like when you said fortunately, it sounded like unfortunately. Like you said, unfortunately,
If I wasn't able to do it, then that would for real, because then that would have been like it would be so nice to just have a deciding factor of something that's like, well, there's nothing I can do about this. Like everything about myself is telling me to do this thing, but it's a lot of times it winds up not being the case, where it's like I like have opportunities where I could do many things, and that is it drives me nuts sometimes.
A lot of people say like don't have a backup plan. I'm so happy I haven't heard that word in so long. Backup plan.
Plan B.
People say Plan B. Right. No which is being outlawed in all 50 states.
There's also a skateboard company called Plan B.
Right.
Nice.
Right.
Just fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the Plan B is a killer, because doing music is such a crazy thing. But we also all know people who, without mentioning them, there's certain people we know where we're like, I think you're gonna have to do music because everything else that you do is just a disaster.
Yeah.
And you're not one of those people. You're like super savvy, super nice, social.
Thanks.
Almost like I would say normal. And
No offense.
No, it's funny. It's I don't know.
And I can say that about you because I feel like I'm similar also in a way, like
Yeah,
normal.
I feel that.
Yeah. This guy doesn't.
Reasonable.
Yeah. Reasonable. Reasonable is a great word, right?
Okay, yeah, reasonable. I'll definitely take over. I mean, normal. I like. There've been sometimes like I've gone to people. I'm like, yeah, this is going on, blah blah blah, and I think it's so unique to me and whatnot. And they're like, dude, that's like really normal. It's like really normal. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But just to tie up what I was just the why job quit did I do?
I'll just reiterate that it was a good job, and it paid well.
It was a good job. It was a good job that had its pros and its cons.
There's gonna be people in the comments trying to be like, I want to talk to Avi about how do I get a job in tech. There's people probably more interested in that.
There's a handful of people who have asked me about getting a job in tech. Hi, Mimi.
They're like more interested in, oh, you had a job. That's so cool.
Yeah. But yeah, I got like I landed a job after college. But the thing is too is like that like it's not like that's necessarily the job I chose. Like I chose it in the sense that I agreed to the contract that they offered me, but that was the only job offer I received. Because
you were so close. You were so close.
I mean, like, granted, like if I decided to not go with that company at the time, I would have still been applying to other places. But like at the time of me receiving that offer, I had interviewed at other places, and I also was just, but even the other places I applied to, it wasn't even that many. Like I was like during college, I was spending half of my time studying and then half of my time dancing. Because when I got to college, it's not that I didn't dance at all before, but I really fell in love with dance in college. So, and that was what I wanted to do every waking hour of my life doing at the time.
So can you actually talk more about what dancing means? And we'll talk about what music means also, because I don't think you were planning to be like a competitive maybe, but a professional dancer. Were you hoping to be like a backup dancer for Lady Gaga on tour?
There was like maybe like a month in my life where I like actually was entertaining the idea of like, oh yeah, it'd be so cool to pursue like commercial dance full time.
What is that even? Do you know about that world, Sruli? I don't know
Not
about
really,
that
no.
world, yeah.
Is it intrinsically connected to music? Like when I think, oh, I'm gonna get a job in music no matter what, even if I'm not successful as a bassist or as whatever, at least I'll be maybe an engineer or producer, but I don't think dancer. Is that still, like, it's considered music?
Are you saying you're never going to be a professional dancer?
I'm never gonna be a
I don't know why
professional
you're giving up. You're just giving up.
I'm just not.
You just gave up on the
Gave
dream.
before I started.
So you're saying that like even if you don't, because in the case of music, you're saying even if you don't necessarily become the musician, there are still other like occupations around the musician that you can do.
Yeah, I'd be happy.
Yeah, I mean within dance, like, you know, I mean first off, you know, I guess when you're talking about being a bassist, that could take many forms. You could either be like a touring bassist, you could be a studio bassist, you could be a bass teacher, like there, and also within dance. Like, are you like a touring dancer, like with an artist? Are you primarily a teacher? Do you teach at workshops, or like are you working at like a local studio or something like that? And like when I say teaching workshops, like there are people who like travel and will teach workshops, like either like domestically, nationally, internationally, whatever. But as far as like adjacent jobs in the field, I mean, there's you can be an agent, you can like work for a studio, you can work for, like you can be on a management team for a dancer, I guess, but it's not as like, I don't think the correlation is quite that direct to what you're saying.
But do you feel like if you became a dancer, would you feel like it scratched the music itch? Is dancing so connected to music that like, oh, I'm in music, I'm a dancer, or I'm not in music?
No, not necessarily, because not like when you are becoming a dancer, like if you're a professional dancer in the commercial world, like usually you're looking to become like signed by a talent agency. Like one of the like very well-known groups, or some of the well-known groups is like Block or Clear Talent.
And what do those people do?
So those people they're kind of, I guess, nah, it's not exactly like a label to a musician, but like they're talent agents. Like they help you get work.
But what do the dancers do for work?
So what the dancers do, like that can vary. Like I think, and I don't know exactly the inner workings of it because I have friends who are in these positions, but I've never been signed to an agency. But I imagine that like for each individual person, like the talent agency is going to look at like what are your strengths, and that could you know, change what kind of jobs you might get offered.
Are the women dancing for Pitbull at the shows the top of the food chain of what can happen to a dancer? Outside of like, I don't know, ballet, because that's like a different world.
So it depends on what you like. Yeah, if you're talking about just like ideas of like what people see as like, I guess associated with fame or whatnot, sure, dancing back up to Pitbull or to like a huge superstar is peak, like is one of the pinnacles. But if you're talking about what you're getting paid, commercials, ads, like getting booked for those, I have heard that those can and do pay a lot more, and they're much less demanding.
And that could be like a sustaining career for a couple of years. Where
Sure, but like also dancers might get booked for like modeling. They might get booked for like being like I have a friend of mine who he got flown out for a gig with Instagram, where he got booked to be one of the dancers in one of the ads.
I actually work with Instagram also.
Yeah.
I post reels for them.
No, really? Yeah. Wow, I've been like, can you tell me how to do that? I've been trying to see how to like get in with the Instagram stuff.
I work with Instagram every day. Yeah.
So
I watch their stories. Yeah, I'm all over Instagram.
I read their stories.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so interesting to hear about other careers and what people can do. But it sounds to me like your relationship with dancing was a healthy connection to the arts where you get to express yourself maybe and be part of a community.
Yeah, I would definitely categorize it as
demonstrate skill and talent. And I know there's a lot of competitions that you attend and you still attend now.
Uh-huh.
And that's really cool because we don't really have music competitions.
There are actually there are producer battles, like those happen, and it's really it's kind of funny to watch because you'll have the producers and they're just up there. It's like their beat is playing.
Yeah.
Like I've been to some of these before, and everybody's just like,
Yeah.
and then after the beat's over, it was like, yeah,
That's right.
yeah. It's like I don't know. It's
so
so like anticlimactic.
So that was something you thought about. You again, we're talking
Dabbled.
maybe 5 years ago. When did you graduate school?
6 to 7 years.
6 to 7. Let's just say
7, yeah, 7 years ago.
Yeah, and you were dancing, and you were not pursuing music as a career.
No, it
Right.
wasn't even on my mind.
It wasn't even on your mind, and you were working and dancing. Is that true? Working?
Yeah, when I graduated, so I went to UNC. I'm from North Carolina. I graduated college. I moved to DC. I moved to DC because I got the job there. But the only reason I was applying to the jobs in DC is because I knew of people in the dance community in DC. And I wanted to, because one of my internships was in that area, and so I spent 2 months there. I got to know a lot of the people there, and during the rest of my time in college, people would make trips to either Virginia or DC, and the scene was pretty well interconnected. And I wanted to spend more time around the DC dance scene because I didn't feel like I had gotten, I feel like I started a connection with it, but I wasn't able to really fulfill that. And so I wanted to go there and I wanted to be a part of that community.
And then what changed?
And then what changed? In what respect? You mean to get me to where I am now?
To music, yeah.
Music.
Well, I mean, music definitely went on the back burner in college, but it never really left. I was still writing songs, not frequently. Okay, did you ever have Everyday Looper, the app? It was this app on iOS where it was just a 4-track,
Oh, sure.
looper recorder that you could do. There's this beatboxer, Beardy Man, and he did this one episode on Mahogany Sessions where he did his entire thing on this Everyday Looper app on his iPhone. And I was so enamored by it, I wanted the app. So I bought the app, and I would make, it was all a cappella. I was just singing, beatboxing into it, and I had I don't know, maybe tens to, I don't know, maybe 100, not too much, but every couple weeks or something, I would sit down, I'd be walking somewhere, and I'd have an idea, and I would sing it into this thing, and I would just listen to those a lot, and that was my songwriting, effectively.
That's it. You still have them?
Or I upload, I have them on my Google Drive somewhere. So yeah, but I don't have them as necessarily individual tracks. Because the cool thing with that app is you could have 4 tracks going, and you could overdub on certain tracks and mute and whatnot. So you
Sort of
could
analog.
kind of, yeah. So you could I could listen to it however I wanted to.
By the way, that's why you're here, because you could say words like analog and just
right.
put them smoothly
Yeah,
into a sentence, and it just makes us sound
It
good.
elevates the
I
experience.
appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
And a log and a branch and a stick and a
Yeah.
tree.
Yeah. So, Avi.
So
Avi,
Ben.
7 years ago, you have this guy full of talents, right? If I can say so, full of talents, recording stuff on a analog digital device.
Yeah.
Yeah. It seems like a lot of this stuff came to you as second nature. You could talk about your experience. My experience, just the idea that I would write a song was something I really had to work through mentally and emotionally.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take ideas from my head and put them on a pen and paper and sing them. I had to think about that and process it for 10 years before I did anything. And for you, it seems oh, there's somebody looping on their iPhone, so I'm gonna do that as well. Where do you think that comes from? That just natural inclination to do talent stuff?
But when did you start writing?
The earliest memory I have of writing music, I had a dream. I think I was maybe 9.
That's not how it goes. It's
MLK is not really a thing anymore.
I had a dream, I think it was when I was 9, and I remember the dream was this adventure story where I can't remember if it was me and my whole family, I think it was just me and my mom, and we're on a plane and the plane crashes, but we survive. And we crash land and we shore up, kind of castaway on this island. but this island is like a kind of fantastical place or something with like where velociraptors are still alive and they're like semi-sentient, they have technology on them, and there were these like really enormous lobsters in the water that were like, instead of red, they were like black and white and green or something. And like these are just like the vague like just vignettes that I remember from this dream. But I remember waking up from the dream and I was like, whoa, like that could be a movie. And what does a movie need? A movie needs a soundtrack. It needs a theme song or whatever. And I've been like taking like piano lessons for maybe like a year, and I like kind of knew how to sight read, but I remember going downstairs and starting to like write things on sheet music. I have no recollection of how it went at all, but yeah, there was just this really just strong and very like spontaneous and immediate desire to make something.
The kids got it.
That's wild. That is quite an origin
The kids
story.
got it.
That's my first memory of like songwriting, but the funny thing is like I had almost no reference from which to write. Like a lot of times when people write music, like there's, sometimes it can come from an inspiration from another like medium. Like it doesn't have to be music that inspires you to write more music. But I think, you know, a lot of times when people are writing music, like there's inspirations in mind. Oh, I love that sound. I want to make something that sounds kind of like that. And it's funny because this instance, I didn't really have, like I wasn't consciously listening to music by myself at that age
You
yet.
know, I had to turn like 28 to think about that. My music should sound like music that I like.
Interesting.
I actually had the opposite. I was like, if it sounds like something that I like, then why should I make it? Because it already pretty much exists. Yeah. You know that like line in 21 Pilots? I wish I could write chords in an order that is new.
Yeah.
Like that was my gospel.
Right,
like
right.
you can't,
Because
you
that's
can't-
where I am now. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, you
But
want to do something new?
Yeah.
well, yeah. Nowadays, now, and I'm trying to like, I don't know, fix that about myself. Where a lot of times I'm sitting down to write, and not that it necessarily has to be different from anything that exists. It has to be different from anything that exists in my head that I know of, or it has to feel like new to me.
So 9 years old, sheet music. Why didn't you hum something into a recorder?
Because I didn't know that that's how it worked.
He had a dream. He's basing on a dream with Velociraptor.
And the only
I'm not over that. That's
the only
crazy.
experience I had with like playing or experiencing music in an active way was being on the piano, reading sheet music.
So you started writing it, transcribing it, like Michael Nelson from the Horny.
But the funny thing,
It's like,
yeah, I think probably I was like playing it first and then writing it. I don't think I was like Mozart and just going straight
That's
to the page.
awesome. And did your parents notice? Did they like it? Were they like, duh?
I highly doubt they. Yeah, I don't think they noticed it because this didn't like I didn't finish it. I maybe wrote like a line on the sheet, and that was it. And then I was like, oh, this doesn't sound like how I wanted it to, whatever that was. And then I abandoned it.
Right.
it's wild.
Yeah. Well, you abandoned yourself in that moment.
Yeah.
And that's why you're here.
But-
yeah.
I keep coming back.
Yeah.
I think it's important to know, and I know this about you, that your parents are also musicians.
Yes,
Especially,
they are.
is your mom a musician?
My mom is also a musician.
Right. And,
Yeah.
and they took it very seriously throughout their professional lives and did not quit their jobs, but took it very seriously. I know your dad's like a very competent multi-instrumentalist, right?
Yes.
And
Both my parents are.
and both.
Yeah.
And a producer.
Yes, yeah, my dad, yeah, it's funny. My dad started getting into, well, I mean, in terms of, I guess, digital production, got more into that like when I was an early teenager, and it was around a band that I was in that he was effectively managing.
He was managing a band that he was in.
No, that I was in.
Oh, the
Yeah.
Goldstein family band.
No, not the Goldstein
Oh,
Family
okay.
Band. There was another band that I was in that was born out of a middle school elective. And when I joined the band, I was in 6th grade, everybody else was in 8th grade. They all graduated, but we we were playing a lot of like blues, classic rock music. And you know, all of us were, as far as 12 to 14-year-olds go, like good. at our instruments, but our vocalist, Jessie Berry, incredible vocalist. Like she really like carried the whole thing, and so like there seemed to be like some magic about what we were doing. So the band continued after that, and then became a separate entity because like.
And what'd
they
you
all
play?
graduated.
What'd you play in the band?
So I started. This is a fun story. I started as the percussionist. The reason being, so I'm in 6th grade at Evergreen Community Charter School, and it's a K through 8 school. I was there, I joined in 5th grade, and when you get to middle school, you get to do electives. And when I was in 6th grade, there was a new elective called jam band that like one of the parents was like a local jazz musician, and he was gonna run that. And I was like, ooh, jam band. That's cool. My dad had just started teaching me bass guitar. And he had like given me this ultimatum. It's like, all right, you're gonna learn guitar, or you're gonna learn bass. And I picked bass. And like I knew how to play like Iron Man. I knew how to play Iron Man. Like that was it. And I remember they we had an introductory meeting about what jam band is and how they're gonna be auditions and whatnot. And it's like me, a couple of 6th graders, and then all 8th graders. And I know who these 8th graders were. It's a really small school. And so I go home and I tell my dad about it. I'm like, yeah, Dad, like, they have a jam band elective. Like, I'm gonna join the jam band. He's like, oh, that's cool. Like, what are you gonna play? And I was like, I wanna play bass. He's like, oh, cool. Like, are there any other kids who wanna audition for bass? I was like, yeah, there's this 8th grader. He's really good. But I still wanna audition. I have this idea for what I wanna play. But my dad was like, okay, is anybody trying out for percussion? And I was like, no, nobody is. He's like, why don't you consider trying out for percussion? I was like, okay, Dad, I'll listen to you. I was an obedient child. So like he convinced me to try out for percussion because in his head, he was like, okay, if he tries out for bass, there's no way he's getting in the band. There's clearly somebody better than him. But no middle schooler in their right mind is gonna like show up with a hand drum and be like, yeah, I'm the percussionist.
It's a Jewish father.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, he's playing.
But my dad had experiences in bands with percussionists, and he knows like a good percussionist can like add so much to a band.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
shout out Nathan Harari.
Who didn't even come to our rehearsal. We just put him on
Just
stage.
put him on.
Yeah.
He killed it.
And there you go, yeah. And it's like, it's such good flavor. And so I auditioned as a percussionist, and for the first like 3 months in the band, I played bongos, clave, like cymbal, and the block.
Your dad's pretty tuned in. My father, when he tries to like imitate a piano, he goes like this with his hands. Like that's as far as he goes. Yeah. Like for my parents, I don't think they know what the word percussion even means. You know.
But we have noticed a trend where a lot of musicians have come from musical backgrounds.
Yeah.
Not necessarily genetically, but culturally.
Culturally.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Genetics help.
Yeah, it definitely helps. But it's not.
Genetics help. You're genetically musical.
Yeah, not directly, but you come from a musical family. A lot of
Right.
people say that. I grew up in a musical family. I grew up in a musical home.
Yeah.
A lot of
It doesn't
musicians
hurt.
that we know.
It doesn't
definitely
hurt.
doesn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt. I hope that at least I'll give my kids a head start a little bit. Yeah.
Yes.
I want to build up my kids' socials that by the time they're like 18, they have 100,000 followers.
100%. We should all strive.
And then they.
It's funny because when you first said socials, I was like, is he talking about social skills or is he really talking about social media?
Who needs social skills?
What
They
are you
only
talking
need
about?
social skills if you don't have social media.
Yeah. What are you talking about?
I actually heard a mother say this like 10 years ago. She's like, it's a great idea. You take pictures of your kids when they're little, and then when they're 18,
They already
you give
have a
them
brand.
Yeah, I'm not gonna start a college fund for my kid. I'm
needs
gonna
a
start a
college?
social media account.
Start an Instagram account.
Wow, so your parents, they pushed you realistically also. I know some parents who are just like, rah, rah, you're the best.
Yeah.
And like, no, that's not what the kid needs to hear.
Right.
The kid needs to hear, you suck at bass,
Yeah.
be the percussionist. And your parents are great like that. But also, listening to your father and mother, you ended up, like we started this conversation, not doing the music thing directly for a little bit.
For a while,
And I want to just find that point. So were there thoughts in your early or late teenage years like, I will be a rock star when I grow up? Because I definitely had that.
In my teenage years, no.
No.
Not in my teenage years.
Why not?
Why not my teenage years? Because I was very preoccupied with school.
Right.
I went to a very demanding high school that was so, yeah, it was very academically challenging.
Are you saying it was so challenging that you didn't even have time to dream?
Kind of.
So you were really
Well, no,
put to
I mean,
work.
You were locked in.
Yeah, I was locked in, and I was like, I was very fearful of failure. I was very fearful of disappointment. I was very fearful of not living up to an academic potential.
So you were basically put to task young, where like you are supposed to take school very, very seriously.
Yes.
Did you walk around saying, when I grow up, I will be...
I had no idea.
Were you expected to say a sentence like that?
No, I was not. I was expected to get good grades.
Good grades.
So I did. So like for me, the end all be all was like, I mean, it's like, I still was a teenager. Like I had friends, I'd hang out and stuff, but like, yeah. Like,
We
I
don't
think,
believe you, but it's fine.
maybe not. I tried. But yeah, no, I mean, yeah, a lot of my time was really spent studying, doing homework, and really just doing the best I could.
Was the rest of the class that you were in like that, or
No, yeah, the overall culture at the school was very much like that.
bunch of nerds?
Was that a net win, or do you sort of regret that?
Was that do I regret? No. I think
Well, not regret.
I think regret has a utility to like a certain extent, as far as like, course correcting. But I mean, I definitely think about what if I went to the public school that for most of my life I thought I was going to be going to. But then in 8th grade, my parents were like, hey, we want you to fill out this application to this school.
Your parents, I have a love-hate relationship with your parents because they also like showed you Steely Dan
Yes.
and the Big Lebowski.
Yes.
They like really gave you good
Yes.
culture, but they also made you go to this terrible school where you had to work hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 18, you're graduating, or 17, whatever, and there's no thought of like Berklee School of Music. Like that's not on the table.
No, because so this band that I was in, it was called Skinny Legs and All. We were like the youth blues band of Asheville, North Carolina. We actually gigged like a fair amount, and
Was there money?
not really. Sometimes yes.
Still on percussion,
but
or
like
you switched to bass?
so what happened was so I was percussion for a few months, and then so one of the rules about electives was that you had to have your grades had to be at a certain level in order to be able to do electives that you wanted to do. If your grades went below a certain level, you had to go to study hall as your elective. And the bassist who initially got picked, his grades faltered, and so he had to be put in study hall.
Where is he now?
I don't know. I have no idea. I could probably.
And that bassist is Joe Dart.
That would be funny. That would be really funny. But the drummer, his younger brother was in my grade, and he came up to me one day and he was like, "Hey, Avi, like so and so, he can't play bass anymore, so there's an opening for bass. I know you play bass a little bit. Do you want to take it? If not, I can probably take the role." And like that was a very deciding moment in my life, I think. And I remember like contemplating in my head for a second in the classroom, and I was like, I can do it. I'll do it. And from then I had to learn Get Back, I Feel Good, Get Back by the Beatles, I Feel Good, and Papa's Got a Brand New Bag. And all of a sudden I had this task on me and so my dad, he sat me down, I was like, all right, these are the songs. And he helped me learn how to learn music.
You know, Scientologists also learn how to learn.
You would know a lot about that.
Yeah, they're very into learning how to learn. But that's a very important skill, learning how to learn. I'm still learning how to learn. Are you still learning? You know how to learn.
I know how to learn, yeah.
You know how to learn.
I mean, I do think that learning how to learn is not a one-size-fits-all skill. Sure. Like learning how to learn music is different from learning how to learn like a language. Like there's There are some common skills for sure.
Okay, so I guess all this, because we prepared like a lot of questions.
We did prepare a lot of questions.
But all this to say that this is what I'm getting from your story. You had a beautiful upbringing with
Thank God.
a lot of resources given to you and loving parents, and you stuck to the straight and narrow path. Straight and narrow? Straight and narrow? Is it arrow or narrow? Straight and narrow.
Keep it vague and
You stuck to the. You stuck. You
probably straight and narrow.
persevered on this path of excellence and achievement.
Yeah.
And you did the high school well. You went to college. Why did you do computer science?
I did computer science. Once again, at the recommendation of my parents. I mean, I had like. I think by the time I was like, 14, I had like a pretty like simultaneously like trusting relationship with my parents, as far as they trusted me and I trusted them. In terms of like if I like told my parents that I was gonna go hang out with my friends or something, they like trusted me that like, okay, yeah, you'll be fine. And simultaneously, if they had recommendations for me, or if they had like pieces of advice for me, like I more or less trusted them. Was there also like an underlying like I never want to disappoint my parents fear under that? For sure. I'm the oldest child. Like I'm the oldest cousin too on my dad's side of the family, and my dad's side of the family is the family that's cousin. So like it's not like I saw anybody above me doing things and I felt like I had wiggle room to like do my own thing. I was
I have a song where literally the line is disappointing your parents.
Yeah.
Do you cry deeply when you hear my song?
Do I cry deep? Maybe I would have cried deeply.
Deeply. People don't cry deeply. They cry
what?
disappointing your parents. Are you disappointing your parents right now?
No.
No.
Ooh.
Okay, that's interesting.
So I'm of the thought now that like I trust and believe in myself to a degree such that I know that whatever I'm doing, I'm not going to disappoint my parents, because like they know who I am, and I know who they are, and I know what they see in me, and I like I've experienced like tumultuous like levels of like why are you doing certain things and whatnot. But
any big blow-ups that you want to share?
Any big
Where
blow-ups?
like you veered and they're like, Avi, what are you doing? You don't have
Throwing
to.
it all away.
Yeah.
There was one time where I left Pesach at home early for a dance thing back at college.
Oh, like the Pesach Seder.
Like I left after the first Seder, and I didn't stay for the second.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, and that was big.
Yeah,
We've raised a monster.
like, and it's funny because there's some things that like I remember.
It's your fault!
I remember.
You always let him do whatever he wants!
There's some things that I remember being like such like a confrontation between me and my parents, like other instances, and I've brought it up to like my mom and my dad. I'm like, do you remember this? And they're like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't remember this at all. So man, I'll ask my mom about it. I'll see if she still remembers. But yeah, that was like
They should comment and like.
that was a very like that was I think one of the most like confrontational like headbutt moments I've had with my mom. With my dad, I think there were like when I was in that month of my life where I was like, yeah, I actually want to pursue dance professionally. I think it was summer 2016. I had an internship in Israel. I was working for like a startup. I did Onward. So we're gonna start up, and like I just had a lot of days where I was like, I clearly don't like this stuff.
I could just see your dad in like shul on Shabbos, like proudly saying like, Avi's gonna do this internship in Israel. And then I was like, I would be a dancer.
And I remember having like phone calls with him where I was really trying to be like as just hypothetical as possible. And I was trying to pad it with like, Dad, like I'm not committing to this. I'm just trying to go through the thought process of it. And I think just at the time it was maybe I wasn't communicating like as well as I thought I was, or maybe it was like difficult for him to put himself in that mindset. But to me, when it like anytime that discussion started to happen, it got heated. Well, what do you mean? Like you realize that like, how are you gonna make a living? How are you gonna do this? Blah, blah, blah. Like all these just like it.
How are any of us gonna make a living?
Paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah, that's kind of
Like the rest of America.
But no, there was like I was really trying to run it as like a thought experiment with my dad, and every time we tried doing it, it just turned into this. I felt like I was just getting lectured, and that moment with my father, I think, was the most like kind of like contentious thing where I was like, I'm not talking to you about this anymore.
It's really interesting because like the culture that I grew up with, this was also a big deal.
Yeah.
Like, how are you gonna make a living when you grow up? It wasn't as intense. There was a little more space. Also, I don't think my parents necessarily had the best ideas for me because I was so musically inclined and I wasn't doing so well in school. And also my school wasn't like this amazing academic school that like, if I do well here, I go to Harvard. It wasn't like that. It was just do well in school because you should do well in school. There was no clear money motive behind it. There were other things that were very important, like marrying the right person. Like that's very important. Like parents feel a lot of responsibility to make sure that like their son or daughter, end up in the right relationship with the right person. Career is a little bit more vague and a little more open, but I just love hearing the story of like a nice upper middle class Jewish family just laser focusing on making sure that their kid just gets the higher education, because like that's what America's for, it's to like get the education and get the job, and you'll never have to suffer. You'll never have to worry about money for the rest of your life.
So they say.
Like that's why we live here versus Eastern Europe, or even Western Europe. It's so interesting to see that, but there's also so much opulence where people feel like, and tell me if this is correct, you had the job, you had the skills, you have the skills, you worked in tech for a couple of years, 4 years, that you can start submitting applications, at any time if things get really dire, which I'm sure they won't, and you can get right back into the workforce. So is that the cushion that you needed to build for yourself to now finally allow yourself to quit, to do the big quit?
I think also part of it was, I knew that if I was gonna leave to do this, it wasn't like the question was never, oh, how successful will I be? The question was, is it gonna how shitty is it gonna be? Like
how shitty is it gonna be?
How hard is it gonna be to start doing this?
To be a full-time creative.
Right. And the motive was to to make that jump when it feels like it's the least shitty or the least hard.
I don't understand. Explain more.
If you're the question you're asking me
is, as I'm assuming that the reason you did it now is because now it feels safest. Because you can just get a job.
Sure. No. Okay. Well. Okay. Yeah. But what you were saying earlier was like, you're like, oh, you could always get another job.
Right.
You could always get another job.
Right.
Is that the reason why you kind of left?
Right.
And I'm saying, yeah, that was kind of there. But I think the reason I left when I did is because the reason I'm bringing up this point about it being the least hard. Like I would not want to leave my job to pursue music and I don't know anybody and I feel like my skills are not refined and I don't feel like I even have the quality to create like music or productions that are even industry level.
Because you've been honing your craft this entire time.
Right.
You were not doing music.
Correct.
Right, which is very important to know. When I met you 2 years ago, you were your cousin Avi.
Yes.
You had the same outfit pretty much. I mean, little
on brand.
The hat was a little different. You were working a full-time job.
Yes.
And you had a studio that you rented for like a room that you rented for like $500 a month, which back then you could afford.
Yeah.
And you had a beautiful setup, and you use a PC, not a Mac, but you had one of those expensive.
Yeah, much to my chagrin now.
You had that you have like one of the nice interfaces. Like the good one. What does he have? What do you have? Like the
Apollo?
Yeah, you have the Apollo.
Oh, my audio interface.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that's for like rich people.
Apollo X4.
Yeah. Newbie's got to focus right. Call it a day.
I had a PreSonus
thing
first. Like that was the first thing I had.
Yeah, and you were already doing it, and you had music out. And what shifted, I think, from my perspective, when you're like, I quit and I'm starting, was you started doing shows. You started performing live a lot. And I've seen you perform already like 3-4 times just in the past year. So tell us a little bit more about that. The experience of starting to create live shows and live experiences, and what you've learned along the way.
Yeah, it's funny because it's funny that you notice it that way, because that's not how it really went for me in my head, but we can get to that later. But so you're asking about like what's my process around creating live shows.
Or tell me what you thought. I'm actually curious about what you thought and what ended up happening.
Yeah, I mean, so basically, more or less, enough is enough. Basically, was what it kind of got to. At the job I was at, I had ascended a certain amount. That was pretty much the most I could ascend. And I was encountering, and I always had my instances of gripes with the work that I had. But that kind of...
For one, what we were doing was highly unethical.
Tell us about that.
No,
we were calling old women and scamming them out of their life insurance policy.
Yeah, it's one skill I wish I didn't have. But no, it's working in a tech startup is hard. There are just a lot of times where I was fed up with it. But I was used to having instances in school or my internships where you get fed up with it, and that's just part of the job.
And I guess there's no growth anymore. You're just doing the same thing over and over again.
Not that there necessarily wasn't growth anymore. The way that the company was growing too, there was definitely still room for me to grow and do more things. What was happening was I had ascended a lot. At a certain point, my just effort level was, and my actual, the amount of which I cared just was starting to decline. And that with responsibilities increasing and your motivation decrease, that's not a good combination.
I love this topic. I love when people just get set off. Things are okay, and then it's a little worse, and then they hate it more, and then finally they're like, I am done. And action happens.
So yeah, that was and there were other contributing, one of the contributing factors was me moving to New York. This company's based in DC. It's a small company. While I was there, we never broke 20 people. And so working in person was actually a pretty crucial part of working at that company. I think, because I think that helped really create the camaraderie that we had. And I think it's it made, and I'm not there were definitely a fair amount of arguments and headbutts that happen on the team. And when that's in person, that's a lot more of a manageable thing to do, because it's easy to see how somebody's talking, and even if they're saying things that really are going against what you think, you can see there's no malintent at all. It's just you're just working. But when all of a sudden things become completely virtual and it's all over messaging and whatnot, that's a little different. And also for me being in a position of leadership, it was tough for me because there's a lot of ad hoc conversations that happen in person and whatnot. And yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I felt out of the loop. And I could have brought that much more forward and been hey, this is really frustrating to me. Can we make this better? But at the same time, underneath, I knew I was okay, well, do I even want this to get better?
This has, by the way, become a few years ago, everyone said, oh, working from home is just the best thing ever. Yeah. And we've turned against that.
I never really liked it.
Yeah, I freaking hate anything remote.
I definitely, I can appreciate it from time to time, because sometimes it might be nice, especially if it's a slow work day.
Yeah, you can supplement a little bit.
Yeah, but when it's an active work day, I do not want to be working from home. I want to be with the people I'm working with, because I'm, and also it helps me focus more. When
Do you feel like you're part of something now?
Do I feel like I'm part of something now?
Yeah, because you're doing Your Cousin Avi, which is your music.
Yes.
You're doing it from your basement.
Yes.
At least it's your basement.
Yes.
It's not like your mom's basement. Do you feel like you're part of something?
You feel like you're working from home.
Interesting. There have been a couple days where I felt like I'm working from home, and I don't like it. But I like every given week that I have, like I'm doing my best to make sure that like I have things set up where I'm working with people.
Right.
Do I feel like I'm a part of like? I absolutely want to be a part of
Because
something.
I think I'm just gonna interrupt you. Sorry, I can interrupt you. Yeah. The name of this podcast.
What is the name of this podcast?
Is The Lonely Boy in Brooklyn.
Okay.
The only. I'm sorry, not lonely.
The lonely.
The only living boy in Brooklyn. The podcast.
The podcast.
And it's a limited series. This is not going to be going on forever. You know, like that's ridiculous. It's
cool. Limited as in one episode?
No, limited as in I'm going to talk to a couple of interesting people and call it a day.
Cool.
Unless it blows up.
Yeah.
That's like history hyenas. Then we'll just
Yeah.
lean in. Yeah. But you know, the reason I named my album The Only Living Boy in Brooklyn, and the reason I'm naming the podcast The Only Living Boy in Brooklyn is because I'm from Brooklyn, but I'm not from this neighborhood. I moved here for a reason. I moved here to meet people like you, and you moved here to meet people like you. You know? And at the same time, you didn't join a band, and I didn't join a band. Like, I'm doing my thing, you're doing your thing. Well, actually, we are working on something together also. Side note, yeah.
So are we.
So are you.
Yeah.
See? So are we.
It's all connected.
So are we.
So are we.
Yeah.
That's really.
So are we.
You know, it's interesting that that's kind of the amount of collaboration that we can handle.
Yeah.
Like the idea that all three of us will work on something seems too daunting.
Oh yeah.
But the idea that just me and you and just me and you and just you guys will work on something is like ideal. You know?
He disagreed.
You disagree. You think the more the merrier.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that or not.
Well, it's what's happening.
It is what's happening.
what's
I mean, yeah, from like I guess from a purely logistical standpoint, it's easier to set up a meeting with one person than two more, but
All so burnt out from like group chats with, hey, I can't make it, and then the whole thing just goes
yeah,
bust.
I mean, I definitely I don't know, envision, fantasize, daydream about like being in a band, like being in like a band where everybody is in the band just to be in the band, like, and there's no like ulterior motives. There's no like, oh yeah, this is like, I'll make it if I can make it or something. And I think a lot of those bands that we know like that, not all of them are like this, but you know, there's a common story of people meeting in high school and they start playing music together. They met in college, they start playing music together. And it was like born out of something that wasn't necessarily intended to be a band from the start. Whereas now, like when we're here and we're all adults and we're trying to be in a band, like all of a sudden it's like it's very forceful in that way. Yeah, where it's like, hey, I want to be in a band. Do you want to be in a band? And I don't know. Do I? I don't know if I want to be in a band.
Yes, because they're like, I want to do it a little bit, for a little bit, for a certain purpose.
We'll see if it's a viable product.
Yeah, but the idea of a bunch of people, like people live together.
Yeah.
People live in a house together. You know, but they're not 30. You could still do this, by the way.
Yeah, I can do it.
You could still do it. Yeah. Age is so interesting.
Do you feel like you're the only living boy in Brooklyn?
No, he is.
He's the only.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like I am. Well, there's this whole process of like trying to engage other people in your stuff, which is really what we need to talk about. Because we talked about your whole origin story and how it sounds like your parents screwed you up. No, I'm kidding. You weren't gonna do music, now you're doing music. So for the listener of this or watcher of this podcast, it's like, okay, so we've established that Avi's doing music now. What are you doing?
What am I doing?
Yeah.
My thought when I started was that, okay, within music, there's a variety of things that I could be doing. And I don't know what's going to work. I don't know what's going to be viable. I don't know what's going to bring me the moolah, you know? So I was like, okay, well, let's try all of them. Throw things against the wall,
Is that
see what
reflective
sticks.
in the different styles of music that you create and also in the different aliases that you use? And
The aliases,
monikers.
Yes, the different monikers, yes. I mean, the thought was, when, if we're going back to Pesach, which is when this happened, my thought was, okay, I have DJing, I have producing for myself,
Right.
I have producing for other people, music, I have video work, and I have like, I don't know, like trying to make collaborations with people. Like I had those different avenues. And I was like, okay, we're gonna schedule time for trying all of those. Like I'm gonna schedule my week very succinctly, or not succinctly, that's not the right word, very precisely. And yeah, just do that in a calculated way like that, as
So
if
the
that would work.
first step is experimentation.
Yeah.
Because you're open.
Yes.
You're open to being a producer versus an artist versus part of an entity versus being your own entity.
Yes.
And are you still open to all of those? Have you made any decisions? Have you learned anything along the way yet?
I mean, I'm still open to all of those things because, like, at this point, I haven't deemed any of those as like, oh yeah, this is the breadwinner. Like, this is what's like taking off. And maybe part of the reason of that is because I'm trying to do all of them to a certain degree, as opposed to like from the outset just being like, all right, you know what? That one. Like, we're sticking
Do
with
you
that.
have a favorite?
Do I have a favorite?
Yeah.
A favorite what?
Well, do you rap? Meaning, I'll give one example. Your Cousin Avi is, I call you Your Cousin Avi.
Yes.
That's I don't think of you as anything but Your Cousin Avi.
Yes.
Is that your true love at the moment?
So there was a I'm getting to that.
Yeah.
There was like a switch in my head that happened, I think maybe like 2-3 months in, where I was on a call with a friend of mine who's like well-known, I think well-known producer. He's carved out a name for himself. He like was big in the SoundCloud era and like the 2013, 2017 era. I love his stuff. I've had the pleasure of working with him.
What's his name?
Taku, T-A-K-U. Yeah, super awesome producer, amazing photographer, and above all, like an incredible community builder. So yeah, during COVID, I hopped on one of his Discord servers, and I still have a lot of friends from that. But anyways, I was on the phone with him, just kind of catching up, talking about stuff, and I was telling him about this transition, this move that I had made, and he was talking to me about Your Cousin Avi as a business. Your Cousin Avi as a business. Like Your Cousin Avi is the entity. Like Your Cousin Avi is the corporation, effectively.
The scam.
Yeah, the scam, the con. But that's what you're operating under. Like you're doing all these things like as Your Cousin Avi. Like that's your business. And that was an interesting shift for me in my head, because beforehand I was thinking of Your Cousin Avi as like, oh, that's the commercial artist route that I might be trying out. And even though I might be calling myself Your Cousin Avi when I DJ, like when I'm going to do like production stuff for other artists, I wasn't necessarily thinking of like, oh, that's as Your Cousin Avi.
Oh, so there is a layer to you that's not Your Cousin Avi? Like
Yes.
a deeper layer?
I guess.
Like there's an Avi Goldstein person that
having ego death right now.
Well, you just said that you're thinking about enveloping basically the whole thing under Your Cousin Avi as like an umbrella brand.
Yeah, I always thought that you are Your Cousin Avi.
Like when you do a music video or when you do a production, it's
Yeah,
still
I
Your
mean,
Cousin
like
Avi.
when you
and
drink a cup of
the interesting
water.
thing is that when I was thinking of the staging that I wanted to have, I wanted to have something that felt like me.
Now, why did you need a stage name?
Why did I need a stage name as opposed to what? Just going by Avi Goldstein? I don't know, because I wanted to have some. Avi Goldstein just didn't. I don't know. I wanted to have something fun. It was a creative opportunity to make something of myself. Right.
So I think you are your cousin Avi. Like that is like, does Sting have another identity that's not Sting? Does Bob Dylan go around saying my name's Robert Zimmerman? I feel like it's done. Like he's Bob Dylan. You're your cousin Avi.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess I have a lot of people who call me cousin now.
So yeah, I want to hear a little bit about the process of doing the live shows, because again, I don't know what. Yeah, we'll just do it again. There's social media, which is reaching new people.
Yes.
Which obviously is the goal, and you also see like rapid fluctuations and lack of correlation between
With the show.
Between like, oh, you're saying between the album, between the record and the show.
No, between the social media and then the show itself.
In terms of numbers?
In terms of numbers.
Yes, that's
that
what
it does not correlate.
Yeah, people have giant monthly listeners and giant follower numbers, but the show is very small or doesn't even seem to exist.
Or the opposite.
Or the complete opposite.
Right.
Yeah.
Very moderate following.
Yeah.
A lot of people show up.
And for me personally, the only thing that I care about really is having people come to a show.
Right.
Like I just want to perform for people. So I'm gonna try to build my numbers so I can eventually have the opportunity to sell tickets in New York, to travel to other cities and do a show there. And that's really like, that's a dream. What's it like for you? What do you prioritize and what have you achieved so far?
Specifically in terms of live shows.
Yeah.
What are my goals and what have I achieved so far?
Yeah.
So, I mean, as far as live shows go, I mean, my goal is to, come close to the level of orchestration that I have, like, in my recordings to, like, bring that about live.
With a band?
With a band.
Yeah.
I think he means a band.
I think he means a band.
I mean, I have goals. I mean, if we're talking like, the ceiling is the roof, which is actually a Michael Jordan quote, the sky's the limit. Like if we're talking about like, if I'm really trying to go, like I have a lot of, ideas, visions in my head about lighting show, like visuals behind, like really trying to create something that is immersive and almost feels more like a movie than necessarily a music show. And having things that are scripted, and not in a sense where like nothing is like genuinely performed, and not that there's no room for improvisation or anything, but in terms of like this is the order of events and have that known internally.
Broadway.
And in a certain sense, yeah, kind of like that, kind of like a Broadway show.
Well, I think the serious bands are doing that. Like the any show that you go to where there's a couple hundred people in the room. Yeah. That's happening. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I definitely have visions for that, and I envision that for venues that are like kind of like the size of Brooklyn Steel, maybe
2,000 people.
Or for venues that are almost structured more like a theater than a music venue. So yeah, those are like, I guess, long-term idealist goals that I have for my performance.
But what have you done so far?
So what I've done so far, yes, is not quite that. My progression of where I started with shows in New York to where I am now, like when I was first doing shows, I was really just doing acoustic music because that was the only thing that I really thought made sense to perform live. Like I have all these songs I've recorded, like who knows how many layers of stuff with, like how, I'm not gonna perform that live, how am I gonna do that? So I tried that, I tried doing some acoustic things for a while, and it just didn't feel necessarily like fully representative of like everything that Your Cousin Avi does. So then after that, like I got a looping machine and I was trying some live looping stuff. I mean, part of this is I didn't practice enough, but the other part of it was to me, it felt a little restricting, where like once I had the loop, obviously there's like a lot of effects and stuff that you can do. You know what? I think it just boils down to I just didn't practice enough. Like I just wasn't happy with what I had done with it but I wasn't putting in as much time as I could have because the other time I was spending on like writing music and like recording and whatnot. So I kind of abandoned that ship. Then I started trying to do backing tracks. The first time I did backing tracks, I played everything from my iPod, and I like had tracks that had no bass in them, and I would like play bass and like sing with that, and that was like fine.
No one cared.
Yeah, nobody cared. Nobody cared. I didn't even care. Yeah. And then now, what I've come to, and this was like a recent like shift in what I did with my shows that started after I like went with this full time, was I was thinking more about like, okay, well like, if I'm thinking in the mindset of my long-term idealist goals, and I want to create something that feels immersive, and I want to create something that feels like it has like an actual like, not as strong to say storyline, but like a thread through everything. Like, how am I going to do that if it's just me? And so I also knew I had Ableton at my disposal, and I know that Ableton has live performance capabilities. Obviously.
Beautiful German company.
Yes, beautiful German company. I just had never put in the time to like learn that stuff. So it's like, okay, now's the time to learn how to really like perform with Ableton. And the set that I decided to craft for myself was I want to start something that brings people in, is nice and intimate, introspective, and I want, like my first idea was like, I want to like get people like really pulled into that, and then right when they feel like they're really pulled in, boom, like I want to like sucker punch them with like everything else that Your Cousin Avi does, with like high energy, crazy, goofy, rapping, like whatever stuff, and just like, yeah, just have that be like a rocket ship where like you're the introspective, you're adding all this fuel, you're getting it charged up, and then just boom, just shoots up into oblivion, and just have people just like ride that wave to see like what happens.
Practically what I've seen every time is like an hour performance.
Yeah.
30 minutes acoustic, 30 minutes rapping.
Yeah.
Because you're a rapper.
Yes.
As well as a singer.
Yes.
And a dancer.
And a dancer. And it's all you. It's not like different, it's just a different song. Like it's a ballad versus a hip hop song. Yeah. Even though the performance is so wildly different. And I don't know of an artist off the top of my head who does that in a show. So it's actually very unique. Can you think of anyone else?
I can't think of anybody else, but if your goal was to suck people in and then sucker punch them, like have them into the show, and the idea of like, I guess, world building, like mission accomplished.
Yeah.
Mission accomplished. Like, yeah, very, very compelling. Like,
very immersive.
Compelling. In a tough room, by the way, in a very tough room.
Yeah.
The room is Peace Cane store.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about this today, like, and I was telling Mimi, like, we carry a collective guilt, all of us musicians, rightfully so. The live shows tend to suck.
Yeah. Yeah. Objectively.
Yeah. So
especially on the beginner level,
Yeah.
people are just like, please come to my show, please, please, please.
Yeah.
The tickets are cheap or it's free. Please just come. And then people show up, and it's not great.
Not great.
And people make arguments. Well, there's Netflix, there's social media, so people don't have the same attention span. It's on us to
bring something quality.
Bring something to the table, and 90% of the time on the lower level of performances, that's not being achieved.
So the thoughts that were going into my head as I was thinking about how I wanted to do performances, especially in this like post leaving my job, like embracing music full time, is that like in my head there's like two kinds of shows. It's either, well, I guess really three. It's either immersive, it's either like at a very like it's either a show that has immersion, a high level of musicianship, or both. 4 types, or neither. And so like if you go to the Blue Note, for example, like you're seeing shows of like ultimate musicianship. Like I saw Marcus Miller at the Blue Note, and the whole time I'm just like, oh my God, like everything he's doing is just like insane. Like where you're just so like, the immersion almost comes from the fact that it's so good. It's just like unbelievable. And then there are other shows where like it might not be necessarily the craziest thing you've ever seen, or might not be the craziest display of musicianship, but it is very immersive. Like you feel immersed. Like there's an intention in world building whether that's through lights, whether that's through how somebody's talking, whether that's through how they're crafting their set. And then there are shows that accomplish neither, which I think are the shows that you guys are talking about. Sure. Where it's like, okay, we play our song, it's fine, and then in the in-between it's like just making stuff, just like, hi, thanks for coming.
Well, I've seen that work.
We are loop-de-loop. Yeah, I mean, there can be an aesthetic to it, very like Scott Pilgrim type aesthetic to it.
I think poor songwriting is the biggest problem.
Poor song, not necessarily poor musicianship.
Yeah, people just don't write good songs, especially people who are focused on learning their instruments, and then they're like, hey, I'm 25, let me write a song. And they just never really figure out what it is to write a good song. So there's no emotion. Like even what you're describing about Marcus Miller, he's one of the instrumentalists who also figured out how to get a emotional reaction out of you while doing the technical stuff. There's a lot of other people who seem to have the same level of technicality, and I can't explain to you what the difference is. Right. Like I was thinking, we saw Corey Wong last week. He had a phenomenal bass player. What's his name? Johannes?
Yeah.
Something
Johannes
like that.
Yeah.
And then they're like, Joe Dart is here. And like Joe Dart comes out and does one song. Yeah. And I'm like, Joe Dart's great. You think that other bass player couldn't do exactly what this guy did? Yeah. And I cannot, because he had to give his bass to Joe Dart to play Deantown. And obviously it's iconic. It's Joe Dart's song. But there's just some lucky instrumentalist, or maybe it's not luck, I don't know what it is, where they make people excited about their skill level, and there's others who don't.
Right.
I don't want to name names. Some of them are famous, and I just look at them and I'm like, I am not getting an emotional reaction out of you.
It creates the larger question of what is better. When you say somebody's better, like if you say Corey Wong is better than John Mayer, is he better because he's technically better? Because like maybe
who
then
said
you
that?
would say
Did someone say he's better?
Fine, let's say Mark Lettieri.
Right, Mark Lettieri.
Mark Lettieri better than Corey Wong. So then why
are we at a Corey Wong show?
Right. So like what is better? Is it emotionally? Is it writing a compelling piece? Or is it technical? Like is it speed?
Right. So for people like me who are not in any danger of becoming technical geniuses, I have no choice but to really work on the songcraft part, which is also genius. Yeah. The better your song is, the more of a genius you are. That's again something where you're like good at a lot of it, and you're producing it yourself, you're playing it yourself, you're singing it yourself beautifully. What do you feel is the driving force? Do you think there's one ingredient that makes the whole thing rightfully immersive?
Do I think there's one ingredient that makes the whole thing rightfully immersive? I think that's an interesting question. I mean, what I want to say is like the first kind of thing that comes to my mind. Like when I'm thinking, like usually when I'm writing songs. Like the songs where I'm trying to think a lot about the songwriting and I'm trying to think a lot about like the technical aspects of it, I usually don't like those songs very much. Versus the songs that I write that are coming from either a place of genuine like thought and curiosity, or songs that come from like a place of like certain strong emotions, like they just write themselves.
Strong emotions.
Yeah.
How do you get yourself to a place? First of all, are you writing enough songs? Like, are you happy with how many songs you're writing? You feel like you're doing it. So you seem to have like access to the source.
I kind of write songs whether I like it or not.
One a day?
I don't really.
Do you write and then produce? Do you write and produce together?
It's all over the place. Like I have like sometimes something will start as a voice note. Sometimes something will start as like there are songs that I have that have never been recorded that just exist on a guitar and me. Right, okay. And then there are some songs that are, and then there are some songs that are born while I'm on Ableton and I write it all there. Right. So it's a variety of places.
Like I'm a pen and paper guy. I whenever I would try to do something in Logic, just writing in Logic, Maybe it worked once or twice, actually. I don't remember, but I don't.
I like to keep lyrics pen and paper.
Right. But for me, I think the biggest struggle is like a good lyrical concept that's worth singing about. And if you have that, everything else is like, you can do it. You can
Good
figure
lyrical
it out.
concept that's worth singing about. Yeah, for sure. I think from like an intellectual standpoint, like that's something where it's like, that resonates with me, therefore it can resonate with other people. Yeah. I think sometimes sometimes the more emotional songs I've written, they're like they're from a real emotion that I'm feeling, but it's a situation that I've made up. And then there are other songs where, it is straight up from something that like I have experienced. And I think that when we're going back to like what's like the one thing behind something that makes it immersive, I think there's something about the honesty of the emotion, and like how much is emotion really in what you're doing. Are you making something because you like the aesthetic and it's cool and this is fun? And granted, like when something when your emotion is in it, it can still be that too, for sure. But then are there things where like you've written it because like you really felt something? Like I saw a show a while ago at one of like the smaller Manhattan venues. I can't remember what. I went with a friend of mine, and like one of her friends was a drummer in one of these bands or whatever, and like all the bands like pretty like same skill level. But there was one guy where like you could tell like he was really, and even from a songwriting perspective, it seemed like it was all pretty equivalent. Like it wasn't like anybody was like obviously better than the other. But there was one guy where like it really like you could tell the way he was singing things and the way he was playing things, like they were from like a very true emotional source. And that's what it was like really about there.
Are we artists expected to feel more than other people? And that's what everyone coming to the show wants?
No, I don't think we have to feel more than other people. Right. I think there are probably a lot of people who feel even more than we do, and that's why art is even more important to them.
Right.
Because like they need the, like, maybe not need, but they want that art to satisfy how much they feel. And we just have a conduit through which we can like express what we're feeling.
A reel from this guy, you know that annoying guy with the cigar who gives advice?
Yeah. Bacon bits.
Bacon bits. Bacon bits.
I've never heard of it.
Clearly
like music
tried.
advice.
Yeah.
A cigar or a cigarette?
Cigar.
He never smokes it. It's never lit.
He says that, he's like, music is like a cheap, non-harmful way for any person to like change their emotional state in a second.
Okay.
And like that's what you're offering as an artist. Like if you're making music for people.
If you're making music, okay.
You're offering a way to change people's emotional state.
I mean, yeah, that's
It's obvious.
It's entertainment
It's
as a
obvious.
whole.
That's what entertainment is.
That's what movies are.
As a whole. I
It's a fancy way to say it's a vibe.
It's a vibe. Yeah, well, I mean, are you telling me that it's an obvious statement?
Every time you say obvious, we have to have some sort of animation.
Oh, because
Just like obvious.
do I say obvious a lot? Oh, because
there's this,
twice. Every time I hear it.
There's this producer I followed, John Makes Beats, and whenever he live streams, he has this thing called the cool counter. And every time he says the word cool, like a little icon with like a glass with 2 ice cubes in it, and it makes the ice cube clink sound effect.
Do you think success is just about being a cool person? And certain people are cool?
Do I think success is just about being a cool person? No.
No. Well,
I just like the question.
Well, when you were in high
think there
school,
are probably a lot of
when you were in high school, certain people were cool, right? And people gravitated towards them. Mm-hmm. You may or may not have been one of them. It's none of my business. But
Isn't the point of this thing to make it your business?
and I remember reading this quote that life is like, it's not like college, but it's like high school, where there is some inherent popularity factor, some it factor, where nerds can just try really hard to do the right things, but the cool people will just get the bulk of the love and attention. Do you not resonate with that?
I mean, it's just interesting putting it into that framing. Like I do think that there are people like, with the whole like it factor thing. I think, yeah, there's probably, I think there's a lot of validity to that. There's so much luck.
There's luck.
There's so much luck. Like there's a lot of cool people who are not
Getting anywhere.
and there are also successful people who are not cool. Like I feel like there's a
And cool can stop being cool very quickly.
sure, yeah. And do I think there are a lot of people who like, yeah, they just have some affect about them that like really is that like it convinces, rightfully so, a lot of people. It's like, whoa, like, okay, this person, like, yeah. I'm not saying that like, you know, I'm not trying to discount it at any point, but you know,
It just made me sad when you were talking about this band that you watched, and you're like, there was one guy, like, he really had it. And I'm thinking, well, can the other people in that band even learn anything from that guy? Can you even go to them and say, hey guys, be like this guy, because he's doing something good that you're not? Or is it just inherent? Like, he's got it.
Yeah,
and he's gonna win.
I was having a conversation with someone about this recently, about like the it factor, and whether that's something that can be learned or not, or whether the it factor is like this is actually this exclusive thing, like only certain people have it. And the claim that I was making at the time was that no, I think everybody has an it factor. I think the it factor is kind of like just being able to really access yourself in a fearless way. And I think that a lot of people, that access has a lot of layers that you have to chop through. Not everybody is able to chop through all those layers. Like everybody has something burning inside of them.
What I really relate to that, because I often see, like, with myself when I'm performing, like when it is working, because it doesn't always work. I don't always get the reaction that I want from people. But even when I do, I'm like, I don't know what I did. I don't know what I did right.
Yeah.
You know, I can guess why something doesn't work. Oh, I did that wrong. But when I did it right, I can't even be like, I did it right because this thing. So I just have to do this every time. And I'll always get it right, you know, if I just do that thing. But you're kind of saying that it is possible. It is possible to really strip away all the extra stuff and stop focusing on the things that don't matter and find the things that work and just do them over and over and over.
Yeah, I mean, that being said, like, everybody's it factor resonates differently with people. And some people, with what they have, is going to resonate with more people.
Like, I'm always hoping that you guys will give me more of that feedback. It'd be like, Ben, this is cute, that works.
Right.
You know? And I always try to give you that feedback.
Yes, you do, and I appreciate it very
always
much.
try to give you that feedback. But I might be wrong also. Like, I have weird taste, you know, I have my taste. Like, I don't even know that it's the right advice. But at least a person is telling you that they like a particular thing. And by the way, it's sometimes so not what you expect.
But even if you hear it, it doesn't necessarily mean you'll be able to pull it off. Even if they tell you what to do, it doesn't necessarily mean you'll be able to apply it.
I'm talking about that you've already done it. Like
Even if you've already done it.
You can't do it again.
Necessarily mean you can do it again.
Right.
I'm not even joking. Like, probably the common denominator is like hard work. It's work ethic. The people that have the it factor are probably just the hardest workers.
But you gotta be working on the right things.
Of course.
Which is
But if you're working a lot, you'll get there. If you're not working, you probably won't ever reach it. You probably won't ever chip away enough to find what's inside.
Can I curse? Can I do whatever?
Once. It's like...
Once? All right, I'll use my one card. Yeah, I have a friend of mine where, like, one of the mottos that he says is, fuck talent.
Yeah.
I'm working.
Yeah.
You know, that's definitely true. Like, the most important thing today is, like, making stuff a lot.
Right. From quantity comes quality.
No, not even just that. It's improving yourself.
With improvement.
It's like super like shonen anime protagonist energy. Like becoming the best and working hard to ensure that you're and like the creating things, that just has to come along with that. But like at the end, like you are working super hard to be the absolute best version of yourself.
Now, could we talk about what we define as best? Best is such a freaking loaded term, right?
Well, it depends on what we're saying the best at.
Right.
Like I think there are some things where it's not a loaded term. Like if you're comparing certain skill levels, like technique, that I think you can obviously have a an accurate barometer.
Like we talked about dance, where there's dance competitions, right?
Yeah.
But I think like unfortunately the way the music world works, it's like you got to do shows, right? Not unfortunately. Let's say for me, I want to do shows. Like to do a show, certain amount of people need to be interested and show up. Chances are it's all the same. It's more or less the same type of people also. Like we have this idea like I'll pull one fan from here and one fan from there. It's a type. Like you need an aesthetic. You need to appeal to a certain thing. And that's how we value success, right?
Yeah, I don't think people strive to be the best at art. I think people strive to be good enough.
Ari's calling. We're going to answer it on air. Hi, Ari.
On air.
What apartment are you?
We're 403.
That's 403.
403.
I'm outside your door.
Oh, so come in. We're wrapping up, but you know, yeah.
4 as in 1, 2, 3, 4.
Come in.
0 as in 1 minus 1.
We'll be done.
3 as in 5 minus 2.
We'll be done in like 5 minutes. All right? Amazing. You're on air, by the way. Nice hat. Yeah.
It's a great hat.
Yeah.
It's a fine hat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think people strive to be the best at art. I don't think you're trying to be the best. I think you're trying to be good enough to do what you do and make enough money to keep doing it.
What if no one likes
so
your stuff?
subjective.
Do you care when people don't like your stuff? Or like don't react
Yeah, I
to it?
do.
You do.
I mean,
right?
like I go through this mental exercise in my head every time where like the immediate impact is like, oh man, why don't you like my things? And then I have to go through the like, there's no way everyone's gonna like your stuff. And also, you know that even if nobody liked it, you're gonna keep making it because at the end of the day, a lot of it's just for you.
Are you thinking about other people when you're making things?
Am I thinking about other people when I'm making things? Like other people as in like a potential fan? Oh. I mean, sometimes when I'm making something, I might have the thought like, ooh, like this seems like it has like viability, like this commercial viability, like this. But I'm rarely am I going into something like, all right, let's make a hit. Like it's usually not the intention when I'm making something, but there have been times where I'm listening to something after I've made it, I'm like, ooh, I think this could be really good. I think people will really like this.
Here's a very pointed question. Do you have a demographic in mind?
No.
And are there artists in, because your music's hard to describe, just the show itself goes from like soft acoustic to rap.
Yeah, and a particular kind of rap as well.
Yeah, a particular kind, which I don't even know enough about
punk.
rap.
Yeah.
And like, is there an artist that you're like, oh, he's kind of doing the thing that I want to be doing, and I'm gonna like siphon off some of that person's audience and make it mine?
No, I haven't really thought about it that way. I
haven't
mean,
thought
like
about that.
so there's this radio show / collective called Selection, and they're a couple guys underneath their umbrella, Jael and Juro Vandal, and they have this like thing where they're both producers and their own artists and DJs, and they do it really well. And that I think is really the only thing where I've looked at like another artist and be like, ooh, I want to be kind of like that.
And do they do shows where people are coming and buying tickets?
Yeah, I mean, but their shows are usually DJ shows, like they're spinning mixes.
Right.
But you're aiming at them. You're not aiming at their demographic.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, that's true. So it's not exactly answering your question. Yeah, as far as fan base, yeah, I don't know. I just make stuff and I just hope that like people will like it. I guess when I was thinking about this recently, I'm like, okay, like who realistically like would like my music? I'm like, would it be Jacob Collier fans? I don't know. Maybe.
Would it be Jacob Collier?
Maybe he might like it.
I have that problem because I end up respecting the artists who are recognized for their musicality and have like a pretty snobby fan base who all want to be them. And I was talking to Rafi the other day. He's like, forget Vulfpeck. The Vulfpeck fans have Vulfpeck. They don't need you. You know, like you need to find, dare I say, simpler people, you know what I mean? Who aren't like they're not trying to be you necessarily. They want to see themselves in you, but they're not trying to be you.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I told you to be like Ned, okay? I didn't tell you to be Ned. It's interesting to me because like separating the idea of what music consumption is outside of what I think like what music consumption is to me. Like understanding that I don't want to say vast majority because that makes me sound snobbish, but like there's people that are like music is not their main thing. Like
Well,
like
most people don't go to shows in small venues.
No, but even
most people, you ask them what's a concert, they say Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
Okay, sure, yeah. But I think that can also be indicative to like the way people consume music, just like on a day to day. Like are people going out and trying to find different records and trying to find things that are like new to them and inspiring. Just in the same way that like not everybody is like trying to go see like all the new movies. Like people have their own interests and it's not.
Right.
And it's just interesting because music is such a popular thing that it's easy, I guess it's been easy for me to assume. It's like, oh yeah, everybody must like spend time thinking about the music they're gonna listen to on any given day, but it's not always the case.
You know, I'm shocked that your song Noodle Kugel is not on the radio. Can we talk more about the song Noodle Kugel?
We can definitely talk more about the song Noodle Kugel. It's not on the radio. Yeah, that's correct. It's probably not on the radio because marketing,
It
I
might
guess.
be. I don't have a radio.
Actually, I guess, yeah, we don't actually know. Yeah, that's it. Like the other thing about the music business is like everything after you make a song. The promotion, the marketing, like do you want a label or not, and all this. And it's all these things that like I'm so like admittedly green to. And admittedly don't want to do it. Even though like part of doing a job is knowing that you have to accept the like not great parts about it as well.
Well, do you feel a responsibility to make your music heard by as many people as possible, or by the right people?
Yeah, as it stands now, the onus is on me. I wish it wasn't. Like I would.
But what if maybe it didn't matter?
What do you mean?
Why do you need people to listen to it?
Why do I need people to listen to
Or
it?
more than me. I'll listen to it. Sruli will listen to it. Why
Well,
is
it's not
that not enough?
Well, okay. Well, when we say enough, are we talking from like a meaning standpoint, or are we talking from a business standpoint? Because on a meaning standpoint, yeah, the fact that you two listen to my music and like actually know my catalog is more than enough. Like at the end of the day, if we're talking from a meaning standpoint, if my friends like my music, like that's all I need. But if we're talking from like I'm looking at trying to grow Your Cousin Avi, like I want the numbers to grow in any and all ways possible. And that includes the reach of my commercial music. Because I see the commercial music as a way to make Your Cousin Avi the artist successful. And if I want to use my catalog as like a way to showcase my repertoire and my abilities as a producer, then yeah, I want to like get as like many eyes and ears on that as possible.
Yeah, when I started the album, which is now finished, I was like, yeah,
It's
thank you.
finished.
Yeah, it's finished. It's done.
Finished.
It's done. I was like, I don't care who listens to it. Like, I can't die without making an album. Like, that's the point, you know? But now I feel responsibility to myself, just like as an adult, you know, to have this thing heard. And if it's not being heard, then I failed. Just as like I would originally was saying, I failed if I don't make the album. Right. Now I feel like a failure if I don't get it heard by people. And like, I did not want this responsibility for myself. You know, it just seems to like inherently be there. I guess you feel the same way.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people do in the
That's so
in the
interesting.
way that the music industry works these days.
Well, because we're using the word industry. It doesn't have to be an industry. Like, we're kind of...
Oh, you mean just like outside of the scope of trying to like make it as a professional musician? Just on its own, just making music. Oh, okay. So we're talking more generally just about art being heard.
Yeah.
Art being seen.
That's what we're talking about.
Oh, okay. Well, does that change my answer if we're talking about it like that?
Well, you said meaning, you know.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm writing songs whether I like it or not, and if nobody hears it, I mean, I listen to my own music, admittedly. I mean, a lot of times I'm listening to it to unreleased stuff that's unfinished. But yeah, sometimes I like going back to and listening. It's like looking at photographs or like old videos of yourself.
So how many
like
how many
there's
songs do you think you're willing to write and produce in complete obscurity?
In complete obscurity?
Yeah, like do you think you have it in you to make like 10 full albums that are not gonna like go very far?
Interesting. Yeah, it's interesting asking me that now because like I just associate writing music with releasing.
Yeah. How many will you release? That's a
don't know.
question you
Well,
can ask me.
Gives up.
And we're talking
what?
about
How much do you have in you?
We're talking about just finished songs. Like how many things
No,
do I have?
releases, yeah. Like you've released a lot of music and it got some
How many
listens.
do I have in me?
Yeah.
I don't know. A lot. Like,
A lot.
Yeah.
I
don't
mean
really-
like from a stamina level. Like
from a stamina level.
Yeah.
Well, oh, okay. I mean, like, I'm not gonna, like, stamina versus speed. Like I'm gonna, like, I'm fairly confident I'm gonna keep writing music until the day I die. Like so like, as far as stamina for the rest, for like, you know, longevity goes, like I'm always gonna be writing stuff. But as far as like, am I gonna be writing a song every single day? And I know, like, I mean, songs, like, they.
Do you mean specifically if they aren't successful?
Yes,
Give me
that's what
specifically
I
if they aren't
mean.
successful.
I'm asking
Like,
you
if
to
you keep
stare,
releasing and it
stare
doesn't-
into the abyss, your cousin Avi. Stare into the abyss.
And, oh, if I
Like if
just
it
keep.
never
Yeah,
hits.
it never
Nothing
hits.
ever hits.
Stare into the
You're
abyss.
10 years down and like.
Ask
you're
me
still
that.
sub
I don't know the
1,000.
answer. I don't know if you know the answer. I don't know if any of
Yeah,
us know
I
the
don't
answer.
know, but it's not
Yeah.
going to deter me from not making music, because like again, like every artist, like part of art, like yes, for the people who consume art, there's catharsis in it. There's also catharsis in making art.
Making it, absolutely. Yeah. I guess to wrap it up, even though it's really loaded, yeah, it's really loaded. Like you said, you're green. You said it.
We didn't even talk about Noodle Cooper, really.
Yeah. I just love that song, and I love that it's called that.
Stream it everywhere.
And there's a great,
Spotify. Your Cousin Avi. Yeah.
great music video, and you made a really nice event promoting it where you like explain the lyrics
Yes.
to the crowd, which was really fun.
That was fun.
A ton of Star
very
Trek,
good last
Star
minute
Wars,
update.
Star Wars references.
Whoa!
Star Wars.
Buddy.
Buddy. You said you're green to marketing, like you don't know about marketing, and you're like slowly accepting that responsibility as like you're gonna take it seriously. I'm gonna take it seriously. You know, of course, we're taking it seriously. We're trying, but I think there's a fear where like if you really, really take it seriously, it might shape your sound a little bit, and maybe in a way that you're not ready to shape it. Is that a thought?
It's a thought now, I guess. I mean, because, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people encounter this when they're pursuing a creative passion professionally, where at a certain point it's going to be like, hey, that stuff you like making is nice, but we need to package this a little differently so it'll actually sell. And like if Your Cousin Avi, the artist way, is like what I really want, like
Would you change like your uncle Avi or like your mother Avi if you feel like that would be a more, that joke did not work. Like your uncle Avi. It didn't work.
I was just like, huh?
It didn't work. It didn't
It's okay.
work. Right.
We try.
Is it a sacrifice to edit your art, or is it a mature thing to do? If
It's
you
a
have a song-
sacrifice to edit your
kids
art is
got
a
it.
mature thing to do. I think it depends for what purpose.
Meaning, if you write a song and it has this bridge, it's a little long, it's a little convoluted, and your producers are saying like, if you cut that out, like, and we get the song down to 3 minutes and 50 seconds, it'll probably be
already
a better
done
song.
that.
I'm saying, do you make that decision? Is that a mature thing to do,
I
or
think
is
it
that
is
like it's a sacrifice? And like,
I think it's
this
both.
is the art
I
as
think
it
it's
should
both.
be.
I think it's absolutely both. It's like a director's cut.
Yeah,
Like,
Murder Your Darlings.
huh?
Murder Your Darlings.
Kills.
Yeah.
Murder, kill.
Yeah. I mean, the editing for it is brutal.
Yeah.
And I think as any like artist doing this professionally, and even just artists who are not, like I think it's important to like be able to remove yourself a little bit from the creations that you make. Like take your ego out of it a little bit. Where like, yeah, if you like kill a verse or you kill a bridge or something, like you're not it's not devastating.
Story now is Metropolis.
No,
Megalopolis. Francis Ford Coppola. He's like 80 years old.
Yeah.
He's like, I have a ton of money. I'll sell my vineyard. I made The Godfather. I'll make a movie the way I want to make it.
Yeah.
And I won't listen to anyone. And even though no investors want to give me money and no one wants to distribute it, I'll do it all myself. And it kind of flopped.
Right.
Like his ego got in the way and he had the money to do it.
Right.
And that's kind of the world we're all living in right now. Like we can make the music at home at low cost. We could do it however we want. There's no producer in the control room telling us can't do that. You know, you can release it everyone. And then we wonder, like, why is this not getting more listens?
Right.
You know?
Right. 100%.
It's you kind of, I guess it goes back to like, at which point are you allowed to involve other people, or should you involve other people?
Should you?
Like, you'll show me stuff and it'll be like, I don't like it. And you'll be like, screw you, which is the right reaction because I'm just one person, you know? And I'll do the same thing to you. Like, I'll show you something, you'll say, I don't like it. Like, okay, so I don't like this song of yours, you don't like this song of mine. We're still friends, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but that is different from, like, that's kind of just like, that's kind of like being like, okay, I'm not in your fan base or whatever, or something like that. It's a little different from like, I think that's different from talking about like the individual.
But I don't
like,
think so, because I've gone to your shows and I am a fan.
And I'm also a fan of your
I'm a
stuff.
fan, and it's not just because we're friends. I'm a fan, but also it's not my place to like shape everything you do. I'm like, okay, Avi, this part was good, this part was not, because this is just one man's opinion, you know?
Yeah, but it's also a
Right.
listener's opinion, and listeners' opinions are important. So yeah, I'm losing my train of thought, but it's like you can always make music for yourself. It doesn't have to be released, and you can do that there. And I think, you know, yeah, when you're somebody saying, oh, I don't like this, I think it's different from saying kind of ways like this works, that works. What if you tried moving this here? Like I had a friend of mine who I was just playing my music for him in the car, and I played him a song, and he was like, oh, like this section felt like it came a little early. Like I think I might like that towards the end. And yeah, my initial response was like, fuck you, this is my song. Like, and then I thought about it later and I tried it, and I'm like, this is so much better. It really is. And now that's how the song is, and it's coming out in a month.
I had this idea to like have a WhatsApp group with like 20 18-year-old girls, and they just have to vote on everything all the time.
Yeah.
Like every piece of music, every section, like thumbs up, thumbs down. And like, how can you go wrong?
Yeah.
If a group of 18 girls are like, yeah, this is good. Like, it's probably gonna go places. I shouldn't give away. This is too good.
Too good.
He's giving away secrets.
Like when my 17-year-old sister like says she likes something, I'm like, oh my gosh, like
it must actually be
you're
good.
the only person who matters like in this whole universe. Yeah, it's very interesting.
Well, yeah. Then it gets into, and this is not, we don't have to get into this now, but a question of I've been thinking of also, which I guess we could have kind of gotten into on the demographics section, but like yeah, who am I even making this for?
Yeah. I think the older we get, we tend to like also attract audiences that like are a little older, which is good. Like I'm still getting into new artists, you know, but there is a thing that like 17, 18, 19, like, not that we can't appeal to those people, we could, but that's when people get serious about an artist.
Avi plugs. Follow Your Cousin Avi on YouTube, Spotify, and SoundCloud, and Instagram. Your Cousin Avi, the same moniker across all of them. I have an EP that I just released, Sidebar EP, came out a couple weeks ago, straight hip hop. Give it a listen, it's a lot of fun. I have 2 singles that just came out the other day, Anything and Everything. I think it's the most wholesome music I've ever created. And then, later this month, I will start releasing songs for my next EP, The Company of Solitude, which are all songs about loneliness and partnership.
Partnership. We could do this for hours.
Yeah.
Any live events? Nothing scheduled.
No live events scheduled at this moment in time, as some of the venues that I've been trying to get shows at no longer exist.
No name.
But things will
Trying to
be
do a
coming.
gig in the Fillmore East.
So, yeah, keep your eyes open.
Go
More
Brooklyn
stuff is coming.
Dodgers. Okay, fine. Thanks so much.
Thank y'all.
Yo, Avi. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Oh!